Panties in a bunch?
Wendy Bell Radio is live.
Hi, everybody. Good morning.
Now we sit and wait.
Are we beta testing the new chat function on the app?
We are. There's a lot of people in there already.
We were amazed at how many people did not know that we had an app. Is it going?
Yes.
Yes. Right on, right on. I love it. This is
so
great.
We are now officially free and clear from big tech.
This is huge. And this is all because of Jason.
Yeah. And someone's forced late.
Oh, God.
Apparently, don't forget Brock's foresight on this.
Yes, well.
Foresight. I just talked about a mini golf course I used to go to.
Well,
someone has to have vision. That's all I'm going to say. Someone has.
We have a lot of people this morning trying to take credit for a lot of different things. Funny, none of them is me.
No sound, guys. Unmute you tell them to unblock. They won't hear it.
If you can't hear, check your audio settings. One thing I find, wow, is that it's almost never us.
So far, it's never been the app.
I got this over the weekend from somebody who took a screen grab of something that says apparently Facebook will shadow ban posts that receive a lot of angry or negative reactions. So like when we post something and makes you guys angry and you put mean faces, apparently this article alleges that can end up shadow banning you. I don't know.
Yeah, unfortunately some people are saying we can hear you. We're talking to the people today. We're beta testing the app with chat. So all you guys who said, "Hey, I come to Facebook because I like the chat.
I like to hear what people are saying. I like to communicate with them."
Go It Now has its own chat, so you won't see them on Facebook what they're saying on the app, but you can now. There is sound on the app. It comes up muted. You have to unmute it. I just tested the app. It is, I'm going to say this right, it is not the app.
Yeah.
Hit the unmute button, guys.
Top right corner.
Click on the stream, and then you'll see a little, just like you can see on YouTube and Facebook, there's a little speaker. It's going to be muted. Just click on mute.
Now, since they can't hear you, does that get transcribed in the app?
No.
So that's going to be tricky.
By the way, we have 800 people watching on the app.
That is outstanding.
Thank you guys.
Yes, it's amazing.
You guys, our goal is to transition off of this Facebook. Like, I'm done. And, after they took down our show last Wednesday, which arguably was the most important one I think we've done, perhaps ever, that was it for me.
Can I go a little deeper in explaining the app real quick? So, can we talk about what our plans are?
Sure.
Okay, so because the app costs a lot to build, we are going to have to charge if you want the app to have the chat. We will keep a free one, but you will not be able to chat on it. And there's two reasons. The more people, and Jason's told me this, the more people who use the app, it ups your server costs. So the more of you guys that use it, Laura, we're not going to Rumble because Rumble isn't us. The more people to use it means the more server space we have to buy.
So it's a double-edged sword. We're delighted to have the traffic, but it costs us more to do it. And so we're going to have a monthly fee. I don't believe it's exorbitant, and we're going to add new features to the app as well, additional features that we think are above and beyond the value of what we're going to charge. So that's coming. But do know that Apple, Google, and who else takes the cut?
Just Apple. Google.
Apple and Google. They take 30% of whatever we charge. And so we scramble for just what we can to pay our bills to make it happen. So this isn't like anybody's planning on getting rich here. We're just trying to cover our bases and not go bankrupt. If we just want to make it clear.
I know. One thing too, guys, if we do not
allow Apple and Google to charge, we cannot be in their
Right.
They will not allow us to have our own payment processor.
Stinks, but it's the deal.
Yeah.
It's great to see that we have more than 1,000 people on the app right now.
And the app does not work on your desktop. So for the people who said they're
Technologically challenged.
right, we're looking at having a login for a desktop so you can have the chat also.
I love how we say we. He is looking at that.
No,
I'm like, "Grr."
We are going to have to kick our bandwidth up already because of the fact we're over 1,200 people now watching on the app. So normally on Facebook it's 3,000 to 5,000. We're almost 35%.
That's outstanding. We love this. We put a post up over the weekend. I know you guys saw it, and we got 1,200 downloads of the app.
1,350.
1,350 downloads of the app.
Sorry, that's what's watching now.
Oh, so you guys pushed us back into the top 100 of apps.
Yeah. Pretty sure. Yes.
unless. All right, here we go.
We're so excited, you guys. Thank you for being a part of this. Truly means a lot. Means a lot.
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
It is Christmas week, America. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to the Wendy Bell radio program. It is your source for common sense conservatism, plain and simple. I'm Wendy Bell, and I got my team around me today as we're doing some exciting stuff, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Boy, oh boy, what an exciting weekend of news. We're going to go through that as well. But first, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. We want to welcome all of you across the fruited plain who are tuning in on one of our many radio station affiliates. And as always, we'd like to thank those stations for carrying us across Missouri, in Pennsylvania, in Virginia. We're soon to be in Michigan and California. We are so appreciative of your support and all of you who have stumbled upon this program, which I believe is so necessary right now, especially when I saw what was going on over the weekend. What a crazy weekend. You've got Joe Biden losing his collective shizzle, and Jen Psaki too, melting down as what? There's one lone Democrat in Congress who has a spine, who can think for himself, who can listen to his constituents, who cannot be bullied by the machine, the Democrat, Marxist, Socialist, progressive machine. Oh man, the left are eating their own. And if he doesn't do a Jeff Flake soon and do an about face and switch parties, I would be surprised. We're going to go into some of that. But you know what? This reminds me, I believe that what we are going through fundamentally, and if you're anything like I am, now certainly I am mired in news. I read dozens of newspapers. Brock and I follow scores of websites, and it literally is a 16-hour-a-day commitment to at least know something about a lot of stuff that's going on. And we watch trends. We follow commonalities in the media, words they glom onto, storylines that they're all pushing at once. And it is our great objective every single day to present to you what we believe is valuable, truthful, meaningful content, which is why we're growing by leaps and bounds. But it's often in that vein that I know you too can feel very dark about where we are as a country. You can see the sort of twilight zone reality of what's going on, as though you're the only person who's looking around who's in Realville, and everybody else, whether they want to spend money, as we're $28 trillion as a country in debt, whether it's the lies of it's not going to add anything to the deficit, in fact, it's going to reduce it, whether it's this administration bringing in millions of people from the southern border or flying in tens of thousands from Afghanistan and resettling them in our neighborhoods and our communities. Whether it's wokeness, whether it's transgender swimmers being able to kick the snot out of females at the University of Pennsylvania, whether it's corrupt school boards, asking the Biden administration to mobilize the Department of Justice against parents who believe that their kids probably shouldn't learn about pornographic material in the 5th grade. It's easy to feel a sense of what's going on here? And when does the crazy train totally derail? But I believe, firmly, I believe that these are the moments we have to go through to see the true motives, for the Band-Aid to come off and the wound beneath it to be shown, for the spotlight to be honed in on evil and darkness and corruption. And I know that so many of you share in my feelings about, wow, this is really heavy to see how dark this is in the United States right now. The number of corrupt people who want to use you and me as glorified lab rats to enrich themselves, who every day spread garbage that we believe isn't just dangerous, it's deadly. And it reminds me of something that one of my sons went through many years ago. And he had to learn at a very young age that you have very few people in your inner circle in life ever. You can feel as a youngster that you've got all these friends and all these teammates, but there are very few you will carry with you through every aspect of your life. There are even fewer who stand behind you or beside you when things really go sideways. And something had happened to him at school where this had gone on. It was so bad, in fact, that we had to pull him from his school and find a new school for him. And before we could do that, there was time, months in which this boy, who through no fault of his own, who was the victim of darkness, was sitting at our kitchen table doing cyber school, looking at me and shaking his head, wondering what had happened to his life. And I had to sit down with him. He was 11 at the time. And I had to say to him, sweetheart, I can't explain to you why this happened, but I can guarantee you that when you emerge from this tunnel and you walk towards the light, you are going to have a very important lesson about people. In the midst of this maelstrom that surrounded him, he became the focus, not just of the school community, but our neighborhood in general. Parents, teachers, administrators, faculty stood up in support of our son. And yet, like an iron fist, with that iron fist, the gavel of decision-making came down on him. It was devastating. It shook our family to its core. And it nibbled away at this comfort he had in his own soul about right versus wrong. How could something so wrong happened to somebody who didn't do anything wrong. And the life isn't fair message came out loud and clear. As the months unfolded and he became settled into a new school and became a rock star there and was beloved by the students and the faculty alike, and went on to grow and do other things and heal and to develop into the young man we knew he would be. The stories of his accusers in his past started to fall apart. It became clear that they'd lied, that the people who didn't like him had ruled too quickly, had ruled emotionally, had made a critical, pivotal mistake. The true colors of countless individuals came out. Doesn't change where he was, but there was vindication. Ladies and gentlemen, this is happening in our country today. Evil is dark. And I'm not trying to get scriptural or anything deep with you, but there are people who fundamentally hate this country. And sadly, a number of them have been elected to serve this country. And in their limited last gasp attempt before the complete change of power in 2022, which isn't just going to happen, it's going to happen big time. They're trying to do things that are so bad, that are so dark, that are so upside down, you really do look around and say, am I the only one who sees this? It's easy to, as my son felt, to feel alone. But this is the message today. This is so necessary. What we are going through is so vital. There is a proverbial accelerator being pushed right now. That slow drip of infiltrating our country with people who have no plans to fight for democracy, but who truly want to fundamentally change it and rewrite our history. That accelerator is exposing them. We are blasting through the corruption. We are seeing it every single day in living color, in faux legislation that they lie to you about, to now what's coming tomorrow. In the President of the United States alleged, addressing America and talking about the darkness of the winter as a hurricane of death because of COVID is on the horizon. We need to be in this moment. You need to be on high alert. Pay close attention to the messages being spread. And take great solace in that one individual who stands up for what's right. Because that one represents so many millions of others. And perhaps with one individual's courage, we the people will stop being quiet and we'll stand up too to take this country back. I want to read to you a testimonial from a woman named Kate. This is something that I think a lot of you can associate with. She writes this about my friends at Body by AIM 360. She says, my weight was out of control. I was the heaviest I'd ever been. And I knew if I didn't get help soon, it could start to really impact my overall health. I started on the Body by AIM 360 medical program in July of 2021. My weight loss program was designed for me based on the results of the extensive blood panel. I met with Dr. Dubiak and he immediately made me feel at ease and explained to me all of the trouble spots he saw on my blood work report. He assured me we could address those areas of concern and begin the weight loss program with a combination of diet, supplements, and accountability. I can tell you, I am now down 65 pounds, and I have never felt better in my life. Thank you to Dr. Darren Dubiak and Body by AIM 360. 412-227-9255, bodybyAIM360.com. This journey can be yours, and it starts with $199. That's what it takes to get that blood panel done. It is the beginning of a complete metamorphosis. I know, I'm one of their patients. BodybyAIM360.com. All right, when we come back, we're going to kind of grease what's coming up on the horizon for today's show. We've got all sorts of stuff. We've got Bernie Sanders. Wow, he's not pleased. Oh, we've got Ilhan Omar. You know, you should be able to not swear on national television as a member of Congress, but she couldn't keep it down over the weekend. We've got all this and so much more coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. How's it going?
It's going good.
Yeah.
I mean,
2,000 people on the app right now.
Holy moly.
Yeah, to put it in perspective, we are streaming 2.8 gigabytes per second of data to our server. So bandwidth is extremely high. I think I don't see the Facebook numbers. Brock, what are we using?
23.
Okay, so we're at 2,000 on the app. So we have 4,300 people watching the stream as we speak. So that's very good.
So here's the nice thing about the app. Our app does not shadow ban us. So we get to see what we're actually targeting. And I think the jig is going to be up here soon enough. We're going to see a shift of people away from Facebook to the app where we, thanks to Jason's diligence and Brock's hard work, we're going to be able to give you everything you would normally have on Facebook without the threats, you know, without always being in limbo. Are they going to let us go live today? You're not going to have that on our app. So again, Wendy Bell Radio Network. And those of you who are new to the program, hello, welcome aboard. Do know that this is a radio show. And so during the commercial breaks, we kind of kibitz back and forth a little bit. You'll obviously hear the jingle and the music bed when we go back into the show. But we think it's necessary to be able to broadcast in multiple platforms for you. And quite frankly, we were the first people to do it. So this is great.
And for the people coming on to Facebook and saying the app's not working, it's not working for you. I have the app working right in front of me.
Yes. So what's a good troubleshooting for them to do then?
I don't know. They have to tell us what the problem is because it's working on an Apple device, an Android device, and a Chromebook.
Yeah, we're covered in here.
Right.
If you're saying there's no sound, when you go to the app, up top corner it's muted, so you have to unmute it.
Yeah, actually click on the video.
Let me say this too. For the people who say I can't watch and chat at the same time, I am looking at it. So there's probably
go
a
back
picture
to yesterday's post because we chronicle how to do it.
A picture in picture. Yes, you have to unmute the app.
I think we also have a bunch of people who have gotten comfortable with Facebook because they just click a button and it's there. They don't understand that this is, you'll get there as well with this. And support us. So the big news today, I believe, is Senator Joe Manchin putting the kibosh on the outlandishly unaffordable Build Back Better debacle. It is really intriguing to see how much this Democratic Party believes everybody should just believe what they believe. There's no negotiation. There's no compromise. There's no alternative idea. There's no, oh, you feel differently. Why is that? You are basically blackballed if you are not part of the club. I don't understand that kind of mentality. You know, several years ago, my husband and I got invited to a friend's holiday party This was many, many years in succession. We would go to this holiday party, and I really liked the people there. It was my friends' parents who held the party. They always included us. We knew many of the same people. I can guarantee you that we were the only conservative members of the party. Doesn't matter. I mean, if it's the holidays, do you really need to talk politics? One would hope not. But something that I noticed at the end of Barack Obama's presidency and the beginning of Donald Trump's presidency, everything they talked about was about politics. It wasn't about, so are you renovating your house, or how are your children doing, or have you taken any recent trips? Everybody at this holiday party just presumed everybody else there believed what they believed, to the point that I had to send a note thanking the host for inviting us yet again. And I said, thank you so much for always including us, but please, you don't have to include us anymore. And I was being honest when I said this. One of my son's birthdays is usually the weekend of this party. And it puts us in this weird pickle to choose whether we're going to celebrate him that night or go to a party. And if you're a parent, you know what you're going to choose, your son. So I was able to beg out of the invitation. They were gracious to do this. I was astonished at how many people on the left just presumed that everybody felt the same way. I said, what? And it was toxic. It was toxic. Well, lo and behold, I will tell you that basically nobody at that party who we've known for 10 years talks to me anymore. Isn't that a shame? Not that I ditched the party, but because now I've got a platform, I speak about my common sense conservatism. I believe that every day we share information that blows the lid off of the BS. And we're equal opportunity BS blowers, by the way. There's plenty of it going on the right as well. But there's almost this bullying groupthink mentality on the left in particular, that everybody in the club is going to do what the club does. And this is why I call it the clone troopers. If your homing chip is activated and you've been drinking the Democrat Kool-Aid, you do exactly what they tell you to do, which is why for things that are wholly unaffordable, i.e. the Build Back Better bill, you have no Democrat dissent. Everybody just says, yeah, I'm going to do. At what point do you trade your individuality and your ability to assess, let's see, we've been spending like drunken sailors since, 1995. Now the national debt's $28 trillion. Congress thinks the only way they can actually deal with that is to continually kick the can down the road to bankrupt our children and raise the debt ceiling. I'm thinking now with inflation, gas prices through the roof, people really afraid, jobs, people deciding they're not going to work because the government's paid them to sit on their ducks for 2 years. I'm thinking now's not a good time to add 3 to 5 trillion to the national debt. One would think this conversation would pop up in the minds of people who've been elected to listen to their constituents. Isn't it remarkable then that Joe Manchin, who from the very beginning of this outrageous, when it was 3.5 trillion, was like, oh, hell no, this isn't happening. I cannot wait to share with you the vitriol, the loathing, the turning on each other, the Democrats eating their own. And I have to think that average, everyday, traditional Democrats, the lunch bucket brand who used to vote for unions and fair wages and taxing the rich, are not down with the hijacking of their party. Thank God. Today's one person of courage is Senator Joe Manchin. I got some dizzying sound for you. The audio sound bites, jaw-droppingly descriptive of eating your own. Don't miss it. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell radio program. I'd like to thank Piccadilly Chimney Sweeps for sponsoring this program. You know how I feel about our sponsors. They are very special to us because without their backing, we can't do what we do. And Piccadilly Chimney is my latest, newest sponsor. This is a great company, okay? 35 years in business, started by two brothers who are not just still business partners, but they are friends. And they service Allegheny, Washington, and Beaver counties here in southwestern Pennsylvania. And this is a great time to have them come into your house to inspect your chimney, to clean it, to look at the liner, to see what the firebox looks like, to climb up on the roof, to scope things out. The things that you and I don't know about, you need somebody who's certified, who is dependable, who is clean. You know, it's a filthy job, who's clean and who's reasonably priced. And every single Piccadilly chimney sweep is certified. And there's this rigorous certification process that they have to go through. This is the company that we trust. So if it's been a while for you and you need to get on the horn with them, it's easy to do. Here's the number, 412-221-0196. 412-221-0196. They're fully insured, of course. Don't just pick any sweep. Piccadilly Chimney Sweep. PiccadillyChimney.com.
So we're going with Mansion Sound next. We're
Yep.
on Target.
Yep.
Okay.
I know, it's shocking. Every now and again, it does actually happen that way. This is a very interesting time to be aware of history because this is a pivotal chapter in American history that we're watching right now. These chapters are usually delineated by war, by conflict, by bloodshed, whether it was the Revolutionary War, obviously with England, or the Civil War with the North versus the South, with slavery being a big issue, whether it was 1, 2, Vietnam, Korea, what have you, Afghanistan and Iraq. This is more nuanced and it's dark.
I think it's
super dark.
I think it's the pandemic. I think it's COVID, because they told you this is nothing like anything in history, and we have to do all these things.
Right.
You've never seen this in history, so they're giving you the playbook. They're like, we're changing things. This is historic because
Yes.
And look what everything he does. He's like, this is a transformative build back broke plan. This is history needed this. And they reference everything in history that this is bigger than the New Deal. Well, I know the New Deal history of it. So now you're telling me it's bigger than that.
Yeah, I don't want that.
I don't want that.
I don't want that.
So
I agree, 100%. This is
they're
really
telling you, hey, what do you remember about history that stands out? It's changed things. I don't think we need to change this country.
This is it's really easy to get lost in the weeds and to get overwhelmed by negativity. But if you take a step back and you see the pushback, it's I think it's exciting. It's super exciting.
And you know what? Before Donald Trump came into office, Barack Obama started telling you. Remember his big signs with his picture? It said change.
Yeah. This is all predicated on that change was necessary.
Right.
You know, what's necessary is tweaking. You've got to hone what you're doing. It's like a business, you know? It's what we do. We see what works, what doesn't work. You make some adjustments and you go from there. It's not called called blowing it up and rewriting the beginning of it. Why would you do that?
You know what this is going to hurt us on? Google's probably going to be like, remember when we got a bunch of downloads? It started limiting people.
They haven't yet.
They haven't yet? Okay.
At least I haven't gotten it.
Yeah, they're like, is this a fraud?
Yes, right.
Are there bots? No, we just are actually talking to people who want to hear and being part of this, which I think is outstanding.
Guys, people are also saying the chat button. If you see that on the app, anywhere on the app in the bottom right except for the live stream, that's for support requests on the app. there's a little blue box that says chat. That's not where you chat for the live stream. Just an FYI.
I think once we get the bells and whistles moving on this and people figure it out,
Hey,
it's going to
remember,
be,
guys, this is day one.
yeah. Well, it's
We have,
half hour one.
we have 2,300 people participating in live stream on the first day, which is an incredibly large amount. I thought we'd have 700 tops.
That's amazing.
So,
Yeah.
it's a
Trust me,
live-
Jason and I will be on the phone later all afternoon, probably talking about what needs to change.
We need to beef up servers
Yeah.
already.
Which is not a good. It's a good thing, but not a good thing.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Welcome back, everybody. We're tuned into the Wendy Bell radio program. Before we start talking about Joe Biden, I found this to be a very chilling whitehouse.gov announcement. This is the message over the weekend. Now, God forbid we should ever focus on anything that was positive, because we know the way to control people is to scare the liver out of them. Be afraid, be suspicious of others, find a scapegoat, blame them, don't blame us, blame them. There's always somebody else who's at fault. This was the message. We are intent on not letting the Omicron variant disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we will get there. You've done the right thing. I take umbrage with that, and here is why. Taking a healthy population who we know, because the CDC's own numbers tell us, who have a greater than 99% chance of surviving COVID, making it not just encouraged, but now mandatory in order to participate in everyday life in New York and in California. And then equating that with, you did the right thing. This whole notion is predicated on the idea that we're all inherently really insecure, and we need somebody to tell us what to do and then give us an attaboy after we do. Don't worry about the possible repercussions down the road. Don't worry that we're not being transparent about the potential effects of your compliance. Don't pay any attention to the fact that the FDA, a part of your federal government, asked a federal judge to give it 75 years to come clean with what it knew about the side effects from Pfizer's jab within the first 3 months of this year. Take all that and throw it away. We are intent on not letting Omicron variant disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we will get there. What does that even mean? That's further dividing the country. I was looking at this. So we've got 61% fully vaccinated, roughly. You've got more than 100 million people who at the end of 2020, some researchers are arguing, already had this. A third of our population. What have we had since then? Another 50 million get COVID? And now you're adding booster shots. Aren't we there? Isn't this over? Can't we be done? No, you can't. And the whitehouse.gov message continues. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. That is desperation, ladies and gentlemen, right there. Desperation. That is the hail. That is Doug Flutie throwing the bomb. Hope what's going to happen? Everybody's jumping for it. That's the ultimate Hail Mary because everything else is absolutely falling apart. They know America is done with COVID. They know Build Back Better because Senator Manchin said, not going to happen. It was the one possible thing Joe Biden thought he could hang his hat on. Further bankrupting the country and choosing more winners and losers in terms of illegals and Afghan refugees, in terms of Build Back Better green BS that doesn't move the needle at all, just ends up costing you and making your life less convenient. That to them was the greatest transformational policy ever since the New Deal. Really? I'd really just like my gas to be back under $3.70 a gallon. I'm kind of basic. I want to be able to go to the store, and if I have a weird hankering for steak, be able to buy steak for my family of 7 for less than $100 because I won't pay for that. That's not affordable. I want to be able to buy milk for less than $4.25 a gallon. I know these are crazy lunatic things. But how completely out of touch are these people who are just trying to steamroll something that's so fun? 87,000 new bean counters to sniff up your skirt and see how much more they can take of your money. Because remember, this isn't going to cost anybody anything. In fact, it's going to lower the deficit. Aren't you tired of being lied to? I think Joe Manchin's tired of being lied to. In fact, he was on over the weekend with Bret Baier. I want you to hear what he had to say. Because Bret basically lays, I'm not a Bret Baier fan. I'm not a Fox News fan, whatever. But it was an interesting interview. And you can tell there's no joy in Joe Manchin sinking what his own party thinks is their proverbial linchpin of their administration, which sucks. Which speaks volumes about everything that is sucked about this administration. But listen to this soundbite with Joe Manchin.
Home and explain it to the people of West Virginia. I can't vote for it. And I cannot vote to continue with this piece of legislation. I just can't. I've tried everything humanly possible. I can't get there.
You're done. This is a no.
This is a no. On this legislation. I have tried everything I know to do. And the president has worked diligently. He's been wonderful to work with. He knows I've had concerns and the problems I've had. And
this is a no. It almost pains him. Thank goodness for Joe Manchin. Thank goodness somebody on the left is paying attention. But shortly thereafter, my, oh my, not pleased. They were not pleased on the left. Ilhan Omar, who might be one of the most toxic, offensive America haters that I don't know how she infiltrated Congress. I don't know who thought she was a good idea. It was probably under the auspices of vote for somebody who's of a different nationality or else you're racist, right? There's nothing that this woman has done. She was the spearhead of defunding the police, of all cops are bastards, of they're running and gunning for us. Well, how's that happening? How's that working in your neighborhood there, Ilhan? Is her BS word bleeped out of this clip? Thank you. This was Ilhan Omar's kumbaya feeling for her own compatriot Joe Manchin when this news dropped that he was kiboshing Build Back Better.
Humanly possible. I can't get there. Bret Baier, the anchor, says you're done. Manchin says this is a no. On this legislation, I have tried everything I know how to do. Your response to that?
I mean, we all knew that Senator Manchin couldn't be trusted. You know, the excuses that he just made, I think, are complete bullshit. It is really disheartening to hear him say that he has been trying to get there for the people of West Virginia, because that's a complete lie.
He couldn't be trusted. Then she says on live national television, that's complete BS. You know, we've moved the needle on what we allow as acceptable speech in this country way too far. And I'm not trying to sound like a prude, but there is no space or room or time for a congresswoman on TV to swear, much like there was no space, time, or couth in Rashida Tlaib when she was elected to say at her inauguration party, F Donald Trump, MF him. What? And then there's Bernie Sanders. Bernie? Oh, Bernie. Bernie's not feeling good about this. He was the guy. He had all the green climate stuff stuffed in this on page 791 of 2557. Let's hear what Bernie Sanders had to say about Joe Manchin.
Oh, Senator Sanders, Chairman Sanders, Senator Manchin says he can't get there. This is a no. He's tried everything. What's your reaction?
Well, I think he's going to have a lot of explaining to do to the people of West Virginia, to tell them why he doesn't have the guts to take on the drug companies and lower the cost of prescription drugs, why he is not prepared to expand home health care. West Virginia is one of the poorest states in this country. You got elderly people and disabled people who would like to stay at home or forced into nursing homes. He's going to have to tell the people of West Virginia why he doesn't want to expand Medicare to cover dental, hearing, and eyeglasses. I've been to West Virginia a number of times, and it's a great state, beautiful people. But it is a state that is struggling. And he's going to have to tell the people of West Virginia why he's rejecting what the scientists of the world are telling us, that we have to act boldly and transform our energy system to protect future generations from the devastation of climate change.
There's so much there to unpack, Bernie. He has the audacity to say that Joe Manchin doesn't have the guts to stand up to Big Pharma. Might we remind all of you at home that in election cycle 2020, after Joe Biden and Donald Trump, Bernie Sanders received the most lobbying money from the pharmaceutical industry, to the tune of $1,301,069. So I'm not really so sure Bernie wants to be talking to Joe Manchin, who's not even mentioned in the top 20 congressional recipients of Big Pharma dollars. Pretty sure Bernie doesn't want to talk about that. Do you know what West Virginia needs? West Virginia needs coal. West Virginia needs the Wi-Fi 5G czar, Kamala, to come navigate the lack of connectivity in the mountains, so maybe people can be connected to one another. West Virginia could probably use some good paying jobs. West Virginia could use Joe Biden stopping the flow of fentanyl from our southern border as the Mountaineer state gets absolutely slammed with overdoses. How many things does West Virginia need? Does West Virginia need $1.2 billion to plant trees in climate or in certain areas that are urban out of racial equity? Does that really move the needle for West Virginia? Does 87,000 new IRS agents do anything to help West Virginia? No. An honest conversation about what we're doing in this country and how ridiculously our government spends our money while lying to our faces, Senator Sanders is probably much more worthwhile. And by the way, when you want to quote scientists, please. So we, representing 6% of the planet population, should totally change how we live our lives. We should all start driving electric cars because that's the thing to do. We need, and by the way, how are those electricity grids, how are those fueled? Oh, that's right. The same way we fuel our vehicles and power our homes. Please, suck it, Senator Sanders. The fact of the matter is, the person who doesn't have guts is you to just stand up and say, you know what? I'm a socialist whack job. And I've been lying to you for years and years and years. We don't like America. We want to change America. We want to transform America. And if you're not with it, you're either racist, you're a climate denier, a flat earther, or a Trumper. The Simkovich Concussion Institute is a very special place, and the thousands of people who've been helped there can attest to that firsthand. In fact, SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com is a very interesting website that has testimonials from people who thought, I didn't think I was ever going to be myself after my accident, or after I fell, or after my son was involved in that midfield collision. Dr. Charles Simkovich does something revolutionary. It's non-surgical. It doesn't just resolve your symptoms of traumatic brain injury and concussion. It heals your brain. And most of his patients see their symptoms resolved in less than a week. Call. It costs you nothing to sit down and see if he can help you. 412-366-3600, SimkovichConcussionInstitute.com. My favorite claim, though, about Joe Manchin is that his vote no on Build Back Better will threaten democracy. That's rich. We'll dismantle that. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell radio program. Don't go anywhere.
For Misty on the Facebook app saying Bernie Sanders doesn't lie. I might not like him, but he doesn't lie.
Okay. Good luck with that.
Yeah. You're not just drinking the Kool-Aid. You're gargling with it. Because they all lie. Right, left.
Oh,
I mean, he calls himself a Democrat, an independent.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
He says he's not rich, but he has 3 houses, right?
Mm-hmm. The man has never had a job. He's never gone somewhere and actually had to do a job. I mean, come on. Can working in Congress be a job? I suppose. But really?
I'm going to have to.
Why is that?
Because I have to watch 2 streams now.
All you have to do is pay attention to me. Pay attention to me because I'm fabulous. That's an inside joke when he wouldn't respond to me immediately when I was texting him before, or at least it would take 10 or 15 minutes. I'd type back in full, bold text. Pay attention to me.
Because I wasn't doing anything
I don't know what you were doing. You're probably smoking a cigar.
My world has to revolve around one Wendy Bell in Wendy Bell's eyes.
Well, you know what? As long as we've got that settled, we're all in a good spot.
Right. I was telling Jason before the show, I put up a picture of my Saturday afternoon, and people will respond, "Where's Wendy?"
Wow.
Yeah.
Not here.
Right?
Happily not here.
Yeah. Everybody needs a break.
You know, and it's not even that we spend that much time together. We're just constantly chirping at each other. By the way, because of you guys, I found a painter who's in my house right now painting. All of you who suggested somebody or who, chimed in, I've saved your information. My dream is to create our own conservative Angie's List. Might be a little bit of a stretch, but
Wendy's List.
Look at
Wendy's List.
Wendy's List.
All right, here we go.
I take particular umbrage with the faux claim that not voting for something that will undoubtedly, and it has been suggested by economists and the Penn Wharton blah, 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 that will conservatively add $3 to $5 trillion to our national debt, to equate that not passing as something that would threaten democracy is preposterous. Do people who don't get their way, i.e. the left, when anybody has the audacity to push back, do they understand what democracy is? See, here in the land before time, we have an attorney general who believes it is his time to fail upwards into the governor's house. He believes that even though he did absolutely zero during COVID, was not out fighting for small business, was never at work. We never saw nor heard of Josh Shapiro ever, much like our governor and our lieutenant governor. He seems to like to tweet these ideas that Republicans are trying to prevent people from voting by wanting to demand something pivotal that is required in Afghanistan, for God's sakes, and it's called voter identification. And so by conflating the Republican by and large push to require people to prove who they are before they vote, to conflate that with some idea that what we're really trying to do is silence people's votes. It's racist. They want you not to vote. It's so juvenile and it's so predictable. You just look dumb. We must protect democracy, he tweets, as like 7 people put a heart on it. I'm like, wow, you're really killing it here in the Commonwealth. Let me tell you, we must protect democracy. He's correct. And that is what we do here every single day by exposing the BS, by sharing with you the ridiculousness of what the left is trying to accomplish. And yet now I wish I had stock in Orville Redenbacher, because the show is going to get very good. It just is. This is a pivotal part of American history. Usually, chapters of American history are delineated by war, Revolutionary War, Civil War, World War I, II, name it. This is a war. And you're in the heart of it. You are watching it every single day. As one side wants to lie and deceive and control and to manipulate with all of its minions, whether it's COVID, whether it's climate change, whether it's immigration, all of it is garbage. And then you have the other side that says, you know what, we've come a long way in 250 plus years. We're doing all right. There's no fundamental change necessary. The thing that needs to fundamentally change is all of you lackeys who are down with this need to get the hell out of Congress. Some interesting stuff regarding Fauci and Collins coming up when we come back on the Wendy Bell radio program. Well, we're hopeful that you guys have enjoyed our messages regarding Nemacolin Country Club in southwestern Pennsylvania. I know they've gotten quite a few phone calls from folks just like you who've listened to us talk about them. And I'm so gratified because while Brock is a member there and I've been able to golf there, I think it's very unusual for a country club to offer what they're offering. Would you like to chime in now?
I wish I was getting that offer.
This is what you say every single day. We're waiting for fresh material.
But it's such a good offer. Like, it's just such a good offer that it speaks for itself. Half price.
So if you join Nemacolin Country Club, you're going to take your membership and you're going to cut it in half. That's what you're going to pay. And it's already affordable. It's already a beautiful place with a beautiful 18-hole golf course with greens, and it's just so beautifully maintained. It's gorgeous, no matter what the season. Yeah. And it's a great place to raise a family. I'm just telling you that it is a lovely place. And if you've been on the fence or you've got a gift that you haven't bought somebody and you'd like to get something significant, that's really an awesome option. Nemacolin.org, the number 724-632-3300, extension 5. 724-632-3300, extension 5. Ask for Amy and say that you heard this on the Wendy Bell radio program. Thank you so much for those of you who have. I hope you guys join because it's special, for sure.
For the Joe Manchin, I like how they attack him nationally. Oh, he can't be trusted, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, Joe Manchin is voting for his constituents. That's his job.
And his constituents said no.
70% did not support Build Back Better. So I know Ilhan Omar and AOC and the Bernie Sanders of the world.
Rashida Tlaib had some really toxic things. That's what I was looking for. I had neglected to print out this one thing where I had taken all of the squad members' comments, and I was like, and I didn't print it out.
They're all trash.
Yeah.
Like
whatever happened to
decorum?
Whatever happened to just, okay, this is what you believe. No, instead we have to malign you. We have to impugn you. We have to shred you.
He's not voting for himself. 70% of his constituents did not support Build Back Better. If he was voting for himself, now, granted, if he somehow benefits by voting no for Build Back Better, whatever. But the fact that he actually followed what his people want, so 70% of the people didn't want it. If he had voted for it, I'd have been upset. More so for the 70% of the people. But we'll never know how many Democrats truly didn't like this bill to begin with because they weren't going to take the arrows. They weren't going to take the squad coming after them because they knew Joe Manchin was going to vote no. So how many Democrats out there were like, I don't like this, but I'm not going to say anything because Joe Manchin's going to say no and save this country. So I just won't say anything and I'll let it go. I don't think I would bet there's more than one Democrat that was not for this bill. But why take the shots if Joe Manchin's going to take them? Are we staying on target?
I'm going to try.
Okay.
So we dropped.
We've had up to 2371, I think.
Which goes to show how bad we're shadow banned on Facebook because we've
been here for 3 years.
That many people have left Facebook to go to the app, and we're still seeing the numbers that we see typically on Facebook.
Yeah, so I appreciate your patience, but realize we are literally in the first hour of our beta test. So any issues, just force stop your app, reopen it, and you should be fine. Because all of our devices are working. In addition, the older your device, most likely with every other app, it's not going to work. It's optimized.
That's the sordid plan to force you to always upgrade.
Right.
I think that was my mother-in-law, because my mother-in-law said, I'm having trouble with your app. I see you on Facebook. I'm like, Mom, I think you have an iPhone 4. And I love you for not thinking.
You don't have an iPhone. You have an IPH.
Yeah. So I have to try to help her
I guess
out with
what
that.
I bet she gets an iPad mini for Christmas. That would be the right thing to get her.
That is a fine idea. Fine idea, I say. I think they have one.
I know.
I think they have one. I just need to go over and figure it out for them, which is fine.
Cheapskate. Just get her a new one.
Why would I get something new if they have something new? Why would I do that?
They have the new mini?
I don't know what they have.
I'm going to get a new mini.
Listen to somebody browbeating me over how to be their favorite daughter-in-law. Done. That happened years ago.
I was just going to say, I don't think an iPad's going to do
it.
You better level up, lady.
Please.
Jason's going to post a picture. Jason got his own flag today. Yes. He's officially part of the team.
I'm super excited for you.
It's not official until you get a flag. That's how you know.
And thanks to our friend Neil at Workshop 314. Yeah.
He does fantastic work.
When I was picking it up, a woman was there, and she walked into the garage where he works, and she went, "Oh, you!" And I was like, "You!" And I said, "Why are you here?" And she's like, "You." She got her husband a flag for Christmas. It was outstanding.
We're 4 gigabytes of traffic right now. If I can explain to you how large that is.
I have no idea what that means.
It means we're going to have to spend more.
Most phones are 8 gigabytes and 32. So imagine.
Here we go.
Super. I'm glad I'm going to pay for it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Welcome back, everybody. Quickly, already leaping into hour 2 of our busy broadcast morning. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. I do want to talk to you about some interesting emails that have surfaced that are now being called out, at least on certain news outlets' air, regarding Francis Collins, who likes to sing parody songs with his guitar regarding the virus and vaccination, which is so wholly despicable and gross. And Dr. Doom himself, who is poised to now relinquish his throne of power as he predicts a blizzard, an avalanche of COVID. If it wasn't so predictably, despicably gross, it would actually be alarming. But we're so used to it now. You need to hear this. I think it's important. Before we move on, I want to get back to Bernie. Talking about, I can't believe he doesn't have the guts to stand up to Big Pharma. Talking about Joe Manchin. And I find that very intriguing. In fact, that kind of rankled me a little bit, got me angry, we could say. So I went back on one of our favorite resource tabs, opensecrets.org. If you've never let your fingers enjoy opensecrets.org. Please type it into your computer later on today. It is a bevy of information right there for you, and they chronicle all sorts of data. This particular one regarding pharmaceutical lobbying is quite telling. It was very interesting that in 2020, Big Pharma gave $266 million, ladies and gentlemen, to 479 political recipients. $266 million, which of course just goes on to the exorbitant price that you pay here in the United States for your prescriptions. $7.3 million of that came from Pfizer. Pfizer, you know, the same Pfizer that the Food and Drug Administration, the government wants to protect for 75 years till the year 2096 to come clean on its knowledge that in the first 3 months, at least 1,233 people died as a direct result of their jab. Nothing to see here, though. Another $7 million came from Johnson & Johnson, the same Johnson & Johnson that the same FDA advisory panel voted unanimously, 15-0 last Thursday, to not take off the shelves, even though there's been quite a bit of correlation between the Johnson & Johnson jab and reports of blood clots, specifically among women. We're not gonna pull it from the shelves just because at least 9 women have died. We're just going to recommend the other jabs more than that. You can still get the Johnson & Johnson jab and roll the dice on whatever could happen to you, but God forbid we should identify there's obviously a serious problem here and we should pull it. Nope. Maybe that's $7 million from Johnson & Johnson in the 2020 election cycle in terms of their pharmaceutical lobbying had some role in that. Bernie Sanders, as I told you, in 2020 got $1.3 million and just a handful of other thousands from Big Pharma, which is $500,000 more than the next person in Congress who was also given quite a bit of dough. $500,000 more. Who's next on the list of the biggest recipients of Big Pharma cash? John Ossoff. Raphael Warnock. That's crazy. Elizabeth Warren and Mitch McConnell. Did you guys hear the news? This just in. Fully vaccinated and boosted Elizabeth Warren and Cory Booker have tested positive for COVID. But thank goodness they both have come out in statements. We feel just fine. We're certain our mild symptoms are because we're triple poked. It's amazing how you can use data to support anything, isn't it? Can you imagine how many more? So you can come out and say, wait a minute, Joe Biden says I'm going to end the virus. I'm going to cure the virus. I'm going to stop the virus. And then all of a sudden, you know, way more people have died in the last 11 months than they did in all of 2020, even with the vaccine, right? Doesn't that make you kind of scratch your head and say, what's going on there? I find it very interesting that these people then will say, well, can you imagine 800,000 deaths? Can you imagine how much worse it would have been if we didn't have that vaccine? So they'll spin it either way that they can, right? You can't believe any of them. They're all garbage. Sadly, this is the takeaway. You know, I find that there's a theme in my mind today that successful people tend to talk about ideas. Successful people talk about plans and strategies and objectives and the roadmap to get there. They're doers. They're idea people who get the right people in their puzzle and start piecing it together to move the needle forward. Unsuccessful people, on the flip side, tend to be people who talk about people and not about ideas. And follow my logic on this. The unsuccessful people who we are awash in with this administration don't talk about big picture stuff. They point the fingers at other people, like scapegoat theory. It's never anything I've done. I'm going to blame it on you. And here's why I say this. Do you guys remember hearing about the Great Barrington Declaration? The Great Barrington Declaration came out in late 2020. And it's as infectious disease epidemiologists and public health scientists come together who are outside the government fray to join forces to collaborate, because, you know, this is what science used to be. Research and science is about trial and error. It's about spitballing. It's about collaboration. Except in this administration, it's about getting a vaccine. a jab. That's the only conversation. So this was the Great Barrington Declaration, and this is how it starts. The Great Barrington Declaration: as infectious disease epidemiologists and public health scientists, we have grave concerns about the damaging physical and mental health impacts of the prevailing COVID-19 policies, and recommend an approach we called focused protection. Now, I widely share with you what I believe is common sense conservatism. How about just some common sense science? And this is what this document is. Coming from both the left and the right, it continues, and around the world, we've devoted our careers to protecting people. Current lockdown policies are producing devastating effects on short and long-term public health. The results, to name a few, include lower childhood vaccination rates, worsening cardiovascular disease outcomes, fewer cancer screenings, and deteriorating mental health, leading to greater excess mortality in years to come, with the working class and the younger members of society carrying the heaviest burden. Keeping students out of school is a grave injustice. Keeping these measures in place until a vaccine is available will cause irreparable damage, with the underprivileged disproportionately harmed. Fortunately, our understanding of the virus is growing. We know that vulnerability to death from COVID-19 is more than 1,000-fold higher in the old and infirm than the young. Indeed, for children, COVID-19 is less dangerous than many other harms, including influenza. As immunity builds in the population, the risk of infection to all, including the vulnerable, falls. We know that all populations will eventually reach herd immunity, i.e., the point at which the rate of new infections is stable, and that this can be assisted by, but is not dependent upon, a vaccine. Our goal should be then to minimize mortality and social harm until we reach herd immunity. The most compassionate approach that balances the risks and benefits of herd immunity, of reaching it, is to allow those who are at minimal risk of death to live their lives normally, to build up immunity to the virus through natural infection, while better protecting those who are at the highest risk. We call this focused protection. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was the big, big problem. It negated the one fell swoop, one size fits all idea of Dr. Doom and Big Pharma. The idea, of course, everybody must get this jab. The more people get it, of course, the unspoken part, the more money we make. That's the only option. Now, these outrageously intelligent people, and if you did a dive on their backgrounds, you would be like, what? These are some smart people, came out and said, rather than making healthy people wear masks, rather than locking down people who we know have a statistically significantly high chance of having COVID and surviving it, let those people live freely. Go to restaurants, go to bars, go to sporting events. Let the natural infection go through your population, recover, as we then really protect those who are sick, who are at risk. It was logical. It was common sense. And it was taken off of social media like that, as authors demonized. Really smart people dedicated to public health who dared stray away from that clone trooper mentality where you must do and say what we tell you. Now, emails have emerged that show something far more sinister in terms of Dr. Francis Collins from the NIH, who was the boss of Dr. Fauci at the NIAID, specifically saying, we got to shut this Great Barrington Declaration down. Why would they do that? I have an important message for you from West Penn Life and Health, specifically our patriotic friend, Tom Yakupin. And he says, stop, do not renew your bank CD for those terribly low interest rates when instead a safe money annuity could be a really great alternative for you. How does it work? Safe money annuities. Well, they're perfect alternatives to the stock market and a great way to grow your nest egg over time. All you do is you deposit at least $5,000. Got to have $5,000 ready to go, as high as $750,000. And you're going to set it aside for 5 years. You're going to earn a competitive interest rate from day one, 3.5% at day one. And you're going to watch your money grow safely, securely, and predictably. Please call my friend Tom Yakupin from West Penn Life and Health and ask about the Safe Money Annuity. Schedule your no-fee, stress-free consultation by calling 724-228-7187. That's 724-228-7187. Go to westpennlife.com. Brett Baer asks Francis Collins, did you write this email? Wait until you hear this. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell Radio program.
I like the Brett Baer sound. I like listening to him answer a question.
Francis Collins?
Yeah. What?
Yeah. He really does. And you said it this morning. He reminds you of a Muppet.
Mm-hmm.
He reminds me of a puppeteer. He reminds me of somebody who would be very theatrical and would be like big into facial expressions and fake voices and whatnot, but not a good guy in charge of the NIH.
He reminds me of a liar.
Yeah.
What? No. Why would you think that?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's usually like this. What? I'm not so sure I heard the question.
Or I'm going to look a certain way like, what?
Mm-hmm.
What? While you're asking the question. Because I know what's going to come out of my mouth is going to be a lie. He's a great Christian man who has devoted his life to science. Okay, Misty.
Ha!
How's that Kool-Aid taste? Make sure you have it sitting right next to you so when you're choking on his lies, the Kool-Aid will help it go down a little easier.
People are allowed to believe what they want to believe.
I'm just glad you're here. Maybe if you drank the Kool-Aid that hard, maybe you'll listen to some of the things we say.
Well, it's interesting because all Misty has to do if she wants is can go back and read any of this stuff,
Right.
follow it. It's not like I'm pulling it out of my rump. It's all sourced. And we're going to be bringing out the BS board, I think at 10:30.
Yes, ma'am.
That is when your rundown goes crazy. What? I'm sorry?
Which is on the app tab. You guys, the app did freeze it for a second. It's because you've overloaded. We did not.
How dare you guys enjoy
not,
this
yes.
program?
I'm gonna play the part.
I love you.
Can I play the part of a liberal?
Blame them. Blame them.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
This is your fault. Everything was good until you showed up.
Yeah. You started using the app and now look. Shut it down.
And now it's going to cost me money.
What? It's all your fault.
It's going to be a dark winter.
I do this because I care. I'm going to hit you because I care. This hurts me more than it hurts you.
Wow, there's some theatrics going. I like it.
Here we go.
All right. So without further ado, before I blow VA past my break here, I want to tap you into Brett Baer asking Francis Collins. Okay, now wait a minute. He you know what? I'm not even going to introduce it. He's going to do it by himself, and you'll totally get why I just read you what I believe was a very logical, very reasonable Great Barrington Declaration. We got this. Let's be reasonable about this. Listen to Brett Baer.
We always hear follow the science, and you know science is observation, description, experimentation, then explanation. But it seems that a lot of health policymakers have been trying to silence opposing views. In a newly released set of emails received from Freedom of Information Act between you and Dr. Fauci in October 2020, you referenced the Great Barrington Declaration. That was a group of epidemiologists and public health scientists who wrote, quote, "We have grave concerns about the damaging physical and mental health impacts of prevailing COVID-19 policies. Continuing current lockdown policies are producing devastating effects on short and long-term public health." In this email to Dr. Fauci and Cliff Lane at NIH, you write, quote, "Hi, Tony and Cliff. See," and you connect to the Great Barrington Declaration link, "this proposal from 3 fringe epidemiologists who met with the secretary seems to be getting a lot of attention, and even a co-signature from a Nobel Prize winner, Mike Levitt, at Stanford. There needs to be a quick and devastating public takedown of its premises. I don't see anything like that online yet. Is it underway? Francis." Did you write that?
Did you write that? I mean, it's a long intro, but look, a Freedom of Information Act request, which is the only way it seems anybody can get anything anymore from an administration and its minions who just lie and move the goalposts to fit whatever their narrative is at the time. You've got to go get a FOIA request to make somebody actually come forward. That's how we knew Pfizer was trying to do what it was trying to do with 75 years. Did you write that? The emails showing Fauci and NIH Director Francis Collins attempting to coordinate a devastating breakdown of the Great Barrington Declaration that merely said, protect the vulnerable, let the healthy live. Why would they want to take it down? Here's Francis Collins' outgoing NIH director's response.
I did write that, and I will stand by that. Let me explain. What was being proposed there was basically saying, let's not worry about mitigation. Let's just let this virus rip. This is, of course, before we had vaccines. And basically, these, I will call them fringe epidemiologists who really did not have the credentials to be making such a grand sweeping statement, were saying, just let the virus run through the population, and eventually then everybody will have had it and we'll be okay. Hundreds of thousands of people would have died if we had followed that strategy. So I'm sorry, I was opposed to that. I still am, and I'm not going to apologize for it. There are times when people make crazy proposals on the basis of pseudoscience, and that needs to be called out.
Here's a newsflash, Dr. Collins. Hundreds of thousands of people have died from your policies. Remember, unsuccessful people blame people or talk about people. They don't talk about ideas. You've got the successful people who are these fringe epidemiologists. You want to know how fringe they are? Let me get my glasses. You guys tell me how fringy these people sound to you. Well, the Great Barrington Declaration was written and signed by 3 people: Dr. Martin Kullerdorf, professor of medicine at Harvard University, a biostatistician, and an epidemiologist with expertise in detecting and monitoring infectious disease outbreaks and vaccine safety evaluations. Yeah, he sounds like a schlub. Dr. Sunetra Gupta, professor at Oxford University, an epidemiologist with expertise in immunology, vaccine development, and mathematical modeling of infectious diseases. She sounds like a turd. He's right. Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, professor at Stanford University Medical School, a physician, epidemiologist, health economist, and public health policy expert focusing on infectious diseases and vulnerable populations. You're right. These fringe fools probably were just trying to be obstreperous. They didn't like the masks. That's what they wanted to do. Just be done with that. Everything that Dr. Collins just said is BS. And the result of their BS has had major problems. We're going to take you across the pond. The BS board is locked, loaded, ready to roll. And what they're saying is going to be refuted in exactly 6 minutes. Don't miss it. Next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. Diane and Gary Ireland are super excited to introduce to you a new Owens Corning roofing color. It is called Bourbon. And I got to say, I looked at it not that long ago on their website, and it is extraordinary. You hear me talking about Ireland Contracting. They are the sponsors of the BS board, and for good reason. They've been friends and supporters of this program since the very beginning, and I support what they do. They are Southwestern Pennsylvania's home exterior remodeling experts: windows, soffit, fascia, siding, gutters, you name it, roofing, they do it, and they do it well. They are A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Angie's List Guild Quality, and we here at the Wendy Bell Radio program, they stand behind their work, and they are just good people you can trust. Good people. IrelandContracting.com, 800 new roof. Call them and get Gary over to your house to look at your project. Diane will probably answer the phone. Tell them the Wendy Bell Radio program says hello. Before we go on, can I just read something here?
No.
Whoa.
No.
Yes, I can. Why?
No, I'm just saying you can't. Remember all
I'm
the
not
times
asking
I say,
permission.
hey, can I? And you're like, I don't know why you say that.
Listen, this is the Great Barrington Declaration is only about 4 paragraphs, and I stopped at 2. The most compassionate approach that balances the risks and benefits of reaching herd immunity is to allow those who are at minimal risk, the majority of us paying attention, who are at minimal risk of death, to live their lives normally to build up immunity to the virus through natural infection while better protecting those who are at higher risk. We call this focused protection. Adopting measures to protect the vulnerable should be the central aim of public health responses to COVID-19. By way of example, nursing homes should use staff with acquired immunity and perform frequent testing of other staff and all visitors. Staff rotation should be minimized. There's so much basic common sense stuff in here that they don't want to be exposed. Why? Because they want you to do one thing, and that is acquiesce to the jab. Get it? Be a good little person, a good little clone trooper. You've done the right thing, says whitehouse.gov. That's creepy.
They're using the government's using the happy wife, happy life mentality.
Yeah.
Except happy government.
Yeah.
Happy life for you. They want you to just say yes, dear. Yes, dear. The nice thing about having the app too is like they don't come in as fast here on my one screen.
What do you mean?
Because the way it's set up, I can only see chat from one thing on my computer. I don't see app chat. I have my other screen for that. So I'm able to follow it easier. Misty, you do drink the Kool-Aid. You may listen to the show, but everything you say are talking points, please. I might have been bored at night, but wouldn't last night.
Oh, no, don't you dare.
What?
That's funny. Very popular saying.
I might have been bored at night, but wasn't last night.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a technical aside, I guess.
Don't make it too technical.
Well, it's going to sound technical.
Oh, here we
Guys,
go.
If anybody's screen is freezing or the video is freezing, it's due to the fact that we did not set up adaptive bitrate. So if you have an older device,
We'll fix it for tomorrow.
Yes, we'll try it for tomorrow. Again, we didn't allow the tier that we're on for our server is not set up for this many.
Let me explain for you. We didn't expect this many people to jump on. Bitrate aside, now that we have an understanding of how many people are
I'm with you guys. Bitrate, mom.
right, we'll try to adjust tomorrow for as many people, and we appreciate you jumping on.
It's really exciting,
and letting
you guys.
us know. We were expecting. Jason told me before we went on 700.
We're still at 1850.
You guys
he
are
said
outstanding.
700 to me. I'm like, okay.
It really is remarkable.
And when I say that number, I mean streaming at once. I don't mean views. So
Right.
there's a whole different aspect to it.
Yes, we are on the 24th. We will be working.
Yeah, all this week.
Yeah. I threw out a good idea, and maybe you guys could be prepared later in the week to have a "What would you like for Christmas?" open call segment. I would like Joe Biden to go away. I would like Anthony Fauci to go away.
I don't even care about world peace anymore.
Joy Behar.
We did one segment like that where we had people call in and say, if you could magic wand somebody out of existence, who would you eliminate?
Yeah.
Right? Because they were canceling. Who would you cancel? That was it. My. Some of it was really outstanding.
All right. Here we go. Give it 10 seconds.
I'm going to play that second clip again in just a minute. Collins. So to go back to the whole theory that successful people talk about ideas and unsuccessful people talk about people, it's true. You're either going to have an idea that moves things forward, or you're going to just talk about everybody else and stay in your proverbial quicksand. That is Fauci and Collins. So if you're just joining our conversation now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wendy Bell radio program. A Freedom of Information Act request has unearthed emails that previously had been kept private. These emails are between outgoing NIH Director Francis Collins and his underlord, if you will, Fauci at the NIAID. And this was about the time when the Great Barrington Declaration was released, written by three researchers, epidemiologists, people with impeccable, one would imagine, because their resumes read quite well. Harvard, Stanford, Oxford. Say what you will. These three individuals write something that then hundreds of thousands of other doctors and medical professionals and scientists sign on to. In fact, the Great Barrington Declaration would end up being transcribed in something like 50 different languages. It was that pivotal. And in these emails, Collins is saying to Fauci, yo, why aren't we taking this down? We need to absolutely blow this up. We need a quick and devastating takedown. I want to read to you. Well, actually, I want to play you one more time. I want you to hear Francis Collins responding to Brett Baer, who asked him in an interview over the weekend, did you write this email telling Fauci we've got to have a fast and devastating takedown of the Great Barrington Declaration? And if so, why? One more time, here is Collins answering the question.
I did write that, and I will stand by that. Let me explain. What was being proposed there was basically saying, let's not worry about mitigation. Let's just let this virus rip. This is, of course, before we had vaccines. And basically, these, I will call them fringe epidemiologists who really did not have the credentials to be making such a grand sweeping statement, were saying, just let the virus run through the population and eventually then everybody will have had it and we'll be okay. Hundreds of thousands of people would have died if we had followed that strategy. So I'm sorry, I was opposed to that. I still am, and I'm not going to apologize for it. There are times when people make crazy proposals on the basis of pseudoscience, and that needs to be called out.
Yeah, we need to call out the Imperial College London. Crazy ideas like 2.2 million people are going to die, which led to the 15 days to slow the spread, beginning of 8 months of lockdown. So Collins can suck it. I want you to hear, though, the second part of the Great Barrington Declaration, which, by the way, is all of a cumulative 4 paragraphs. And he says these fringe epidemiologists really were doing something very unsafe. They're just saying, let this virus rip and see what happens. That's not even remotely close what this approach was. And I want to read it to you so you can understand what's being conflated as a weakling in Collins is going to try to belittle 3 epidemiologists who had a very common sense approach to this. Adopting measures to protect the vulnerable be the central aim of public health responses to COVID-19. By way of example, nursing homes should use staff with acquired immunity and perform frequent testing of other staff and all visitors. Now, isn't that a novel idea? Don't we wish that here in the land before time, Tom Wolfe, who required the nursing home residents who tested positive in the hospital be released back into their nursing homes, a la Gavin Newsom, a la Andrew Cuomo, with devastating results. How wonderful that our own then Secretary of Health, the esteemed General Rachel Levine, would be smart enough to move her own mother out before the shizzle got real. Staff rotation in nursing homes should be minimized. Retired people living at home should have groceries and other essentials delivered to their home. When possible, they should meet family members outside rather than inside. There's nothing fringe or devastatingly out of the box about this. How common sense is this declaration? It continues, a comprehensive and detailed list of measures, including approaches to multi-generational households, can be implemented and is well within the scope and capability of public health professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we all already did. Don't you remember? You didn't let your kids go over to grandma's house. We didn't. My in-laws came and stood at the end of the driveway, and we stood in the doorway, kind of shouting down to them, are you okay? Is everything good? Do you need anything? This is what common sense America did. But uncommon sense crazy town says the only answer is a vaccine. And this is the final paragraph. Those who are not vulnerable should immediately be allowed to resume life as normal. Simple hygiene measures, such as hand washing and staying home when sick, should be practiced by everyone to reduce the herd immunity threshold. Schools and universities should be open for in-person teaching. Extracurricular activities, such as sports, should be resumed. Young, low-risk adults should work normally rather than from home. Restaurants and other businesses should open. Arts, music, sport, and other cultural activities should resume. People who are more at risk may participate if they wish, while society as a whole enjoys the protection conferred upon the vulnerable by those who have built up herd immunity. It was the healthy, it was the young, going out, living their lives, coming across the virus naturally, taking care of it, healing from it, and going back into society to continue living their lives. Does anybody out there think this is extreme? Does anybody hear anything fringe or radical or crazy about that? This brings me to the BS board, ladies and gentlemen. It's something that we need to talk about because it completely blows up these lunatics, I think, who have been lying to us from the beginning.
Time to cut the crap, because Wendy's breaking out the Ireland Contracting BS board.
It goes without saying that I'm beyond frustrated. I'm angry that I can't get this kind of information from our country. That in the year 2021, I believe nothing these people put out, because it's been proven that Francis Collins, who implored Tony Fauci to go out there to get articles published refuting the Great Barrington Declaration and painting its authors, who, by the way, were highly esteemed and still are, as fringe freakos, have proven to us we cannot trust what they tell us ever. They lie. It is all they know. Therefore, what I share with you comes from England. The expose.com. So there's public health data that is made public every week. The pandemic of the vaccinated and boosted. This is what the data are showing us, ladies and gentlemen. That this right now is a pandemic of those who've gotten jabbed or boosted. And this is what the data show. COVID-19 vaccine surveillance report, week number 50, last week, published by UK Health Security Agency, which is the aforementioned prior called Public Health England. All right? So they crunched their own numbers over there. I don't know if they're just not more corrupt or as corrupt as we are here in the United States, but this is the data. I'm not manipulating anything. This is what's out there. And this particular article on the expose provides clickable links to take you to it. Check it out if you don't believe me. Between the 15th of November and the 12th of December, they looked at how many positive cases they had, how many people were testing positive. And each of these, they put them into strata. Who's non-vaccinated, who's partially vaccinated, and who's double or triple poked, okay? In that month, among the non-vaccinated, there were 417,606 positive cases of COVID. Among the partially vaccinated, so one poke, 79,378 positive cases of COVID. Triple double vaccinated, 518,373. Well, wait a minute. If this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated, why is it in England in this month, according to their government, those who were either partially, fully and boosted, why is it that 59% of the COVID cases presented there were those people? And among the unvaccinated, the dirty, dark people that nobody wants to be around, they represented 41%. Well, they go on. But if you remove those in England who are not yet eligible for the vaccine, so you're going to take out that group of kids, right, who this has not been approved for yet in England, under the age of 18, because that's what it is there. All of a sudden, your non-vaccinated COVID cases drop from 417,000 to just over 100,000. Your partially vaccinated cases now are 32,000 and change, but your triple and double vaccinated cases is 517,061. 84% of the COVID cases in England in that month were either partially, fully, or boosted as well vaccinated. That's a problem. We're going to go on. Hospitalizations by vaccination status. Unvaccinated, 3,532. Unvaccinated. Partially vaccinated, 345. Double or triple poked, 4,256. Wait a minute, this is not working out according to what we're told here in America. That means 57% of cases that are involved, that go to the hospital, are fully vaccinated or partially. And finally, how about death? Non-vaccinated deaths in that time period, 718. Partially vaccinated, 82. Triple double vaccinated deaths, 2,259. Ladies and gentlemen, 77% of the deaths because of COVID in that month were among people who've at least gotten one jab. So 6 in every 10 cases, 6 in every 10 hospitalizations, and 8 in every 10 deaths. That's 4 out of 5 had gotten at least one poke. So why are we saying this is a pandemic of the unvaccinated? This completely refutes what they're saying. You know what I glean from this? I see that there might be benefit for some people to get at least one shot. Some people. But when 4 out of 5 of your COVID-related deaths are in the vaccinated, don't tell me that this is just a phenomenon that's happening in England, because you know damn well it's going on here as well. But the difference in America is they won't tell you the truth. The CDC, the FDA, the NIH, the NIAID, any of these people whose fingerprints are all over this mess, definitively will never tell you the truth. Just get it, or else you're in for a dark winter. The Disc Institute of Pittsburgh, when you say 10,000 people, that's an awful lot. But Dr. Richard Rafferty and his team at the Disc Institute of Pittsburgh have helped 10,000 people avoid spinal surgery and instead have their bulging, herniated, or degenerative discs heal naturally with therapy, with a revolutionary treatment Dr. Rafferty has perfected. It's called intra-disc neutrosis. It's 98% successful. I don't know how many places you go that have a 98% success rate. Doc Rafferty does. 412-906-9600. He'll look at your scans, tell you if you're a candidate. Won't cost you anything. PittsburghDiscInstitute.com. Check him out today and tell him the Wendy Bell radio program sent you. You know, as if this isn't maddening enough, there's another soundbite of Dr. Collins about the lab leak theory. If you don't believe me that none of these clowns is believable, you'll believe me after you hear this load of BS. Coming up next on the Wendy Bell radio program.
That board is posted, guys. Look before you ask. It's posted every day. Last Wednesday was the only day it wasn't posted before the show.
My feet are white. It's so cold in here. Oh my God. Ah! I might bring in a little heater and turn it on and breaks. Could I possibly blow anything in here, like a breaker or something?
I wouldn't think so.
I wouldn't think so. I mean,
You
literally.
need to get one of those oil-filled ones. They're quiet.
I don't have one.
Because if you have one that blows, you'll hear it.
Right, but I mean, I can do it in breaks.
Or my pillow slippers.
Oh my God.
I'm telling you.
My pillow slippers. They are so cool looking too. Oh my gosh, I want a pair. Ah. I should just call Mike Lindell and be like, my brother, I'm too cheap. Send me a pair.
What are you too cheap about?
To get a pair of my pillow slippers.
Yeah, me too. They are quite pricey. But what Jason's not saying is Jason did not pay for them.
They were given to me.
That is a nice gift.
No, I'm not giving Wendy my socks, please.
Ew. That's gross. I don't want his toe fuzz.
There are instructions on the app. So for a lot of the questions people are asking about, I don't have sound, I don't have this or that. Jason typed up there, this is exactly what you need to do. And I'm sure people will still say I have no sound.
Well, you know, I will say this. Look, we are not dealing with a technologically agile community here. When I look at my children and the speed with which they handle my phone and technology, and me at just 51, if you presume that a good number of our viewers are into their 60s and 70s, and that's true, there are quite a few.
So.
You don't think so?
No.
You think they're younger?
Yes.
How old do you think they are?
I think the average person is 35 to 50, 60.
Well, I mean, 50 to 60, it's not like you're killing it.
46.
Wow. We're so proud of you.
I hate her.
Yeah. I look yellow today, don't I?
Yeah.
Okay.
You look like an Oompa Loompa.
I don't know what that is.
Do you know what that is?
I don't know why that would indicate a color. Are
No.
Oompa Loompas a color?
Oompa Loompas from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The small
Willy
people.
Wonka, yeah. Mm-hmm. They're small people who do what? Now, why do I look like them?
Because they're orangish.
Oh.
You look like Donald Trump.
For anybody who has awakened from a long winter's slumber and might still possibly believe the fantastic story that some bat bit the backside of a such and such that infected a blah, blah, blah in a wet market. And somehow from that chance encounter, and not quite frankly, all of the manipulation that we have unearthed in the last 2 years, none of the information showing how the COVID virus itself 73 or 74 times. An element of its background had been patented before 2020, before this was a thing. But we're told, no, this was some weird bat anomaly in a wet market. For that individual who's not privy to all of the information we have diligently unearthed, following the flow of money from our United States, Anthony Fauci and government, to the bat lady in the Wuhan Institute of Virology, or all the insidious weirdness going on with Ralph Barrick at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, or with the wizard himself, Peter Daszak with Eco Health Alliance. If those are strange names to you that you've never heard before, and you think, I'm with that, this was some weird bat that just, I don't know, was sick and it bit something, or maybe there's a bat soup, that sounds good, that somebody ate and alas, they got sick and this whole thing just took off after that. Please. It's one thing if you're awakening from a coma or a traumatic brain injury to not know any of the things I just indicated to you. It's an entirely different thing to be the head of the National Institutes of Health and to continue pushing something so farcically unreal. And yet, this is what Dr. Collins dropped on Bret Baier.
Right, but I guess it just follows this track with the early days downplaying or trying to discredit the lab leak theory from Wuhan. Why spend the time doing that when we're talking about observation, description, experimentation, and explanation? I mean, now it seems like the lab leak is a real possibility.
Well, Brett, I'm really sorry that the lab leak has become such a distraction for so many people, because frankly, we still don't know.
Okay, so let's employ my 180 rule here. I'm sorry that the lab leak theories become such a distraction, he says, with sanctimony and faux concern for the idiocy of Bret Baier and anybody else who would possibly think something reasonable, like crazy people decided to create something and then unleash it on the world to either depopulate the planet, control us, get rich, or D, all the above. I'm sorry that this has been such a distraction. So take that away. That's great cover, Francis. That's great cover. I wonder when he's going to come out with his next parody on his guitar, like he's on the Muppet Show. Puff the Magic Virus, whatever he's going to do next. Pay close attention to what these people run interference on. So when they're hiding what their true motivation is or what's really happened, and they try to throw stones at people rather than allow the natural flow of ideas, you know you're on to everything they don't want you to be on, which is why these unearthed emails show a very edgy Francis Collins dropping the hammer on his dutiful minion, Anthony Fauci, saying we've got to take down in a quick and devastating way this great Barrington Declaration because it refutes everything that we're talking about, which is fearful, fear-mongering, moving the goalposts, fudging the data, forcing people into lockdown while furthering our own individual control, our delusions of grandeur, and enriching ourselves for something that I'm sure they're making on the profits. It's astonishing to me that Fauci alone controls what, $12 billion worth of research money? You know, with great money comes great temptation to be corrupt. And unfortunately, it appears more and more clear that you and I are just the collateral damage. I've got some great sound. Kamala Harris and Charlemagne the God. Wow, she's really stuck in it. It gives me great joy to share with you the unraveling of the left. And we'll continue this work next on the Wendy Bell Radio program. I just left to get water, guys. Sorry. Woo! It is freezing. Freezing. Well, that's an exaggeration. It's cold. How about that? But like I said, back to the monologue. I know, right? You know, as I was talking about my son and what ended up happening with him in his own perfect storm, you know, there are very few circumstances or times in life where everything that you think you know gets put into a snow globe and it all flies around and you don't know what's going to come back to you. You don't know who actually has character. You don't know who's really got your back. You don't know who's willing to go to bat for you. You don't know who your true friends are. And he learned very quickly that a lot of the people he thought were good friends or were trusted, he could not. What are we seeing now? It's the same thing. We're seeing some true colors.
You
for
cold?
Sure.
You cold?
Oh my God. It's not the greatest look, but it's comfortable. So if I only had nice fuzzy slippers.
I got a nice jacket in here.
Where'd you get that?
Joe.
I knew it. I knew it.
You knew what?
I knew you were going to do that.
Who got it? I'm just telling you them what you told me.
Who wrapped it and brought it to you?
Oh, for the love of all that is holy.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And for the people who want to call me out and say Brock's wrong with his numbers.
Which numbers are those?
When you said about the age and people started posting their age. You can post all you want. I go off of numbers. I know what our numbers say. So, like, I don't care what people put in the chat. I'm only going off our, what are they called?
Insights?
Yes.
Well, that's good. Then we are the actual target audience for every advertiser out there.
Yes.
Yes. Which is why I have such awesome advertisers. All right. So what do we do? So battlegrounds at the next.
20. I think those numbers too are changing. When it comes to advertising dollars, I don't think people want 25 anymore or 18 to whatever anymore, because it's just the fact of the matter is people that are 25 are coming out with buttloads of debt.
Do you know what also I noticed? My sons are so cavalier about money. My sons will go, the older ones will go and think nothing of dropping $20 on lunch anytime, every day of the week. And I'm like, I used to get apoplectic over a coffee.
Well, that's
because if you add up the cost of a coffee and then you multiply that by, and then you think, well, I could put that into an IRA. I mean, granted, that's not how the majority of people think, but having a father who's a financial planner and an insurance guy, I was raised thinking like that.
Well,
like I just don't. I often will take the kids out to a drive-through because we're in between something and they want Chick-fil-A or what, and I won't eat something. I won't eat.
Well, I think, and that's why, you know, we've said that we're going to have to charge for this app. And our goal is no more than a cup of coffee one time a month. Like, you know, that's the goal. We have to see how much things cost. That's why I don't want to give you a number. You know, people ask how much.
$75,000.
$1 million.
We think that's fair. And quite frankly, if you can afford one of those outrageously overpriced electric vehicles that Joe Biden thinks that you should all have.
And hey, if you want to write off costs for the app, maybe Joe Biden's people will let you write that off. I don't know. I look at getting coffee every day. The people somehow some people spend $5-6 at Starbucks 3-4 times a week.
Holy moly! That crap adds up fast. That's $100 a week. It's $1,200 a month.
Fast.
My husband will wait to fill up his car at the one hospital at Jefferson because the prices out there are 8 cents cheaper. And he's like, "You do that once a week? That adds up." And I was like, "Wow, you're cheap. I like you. Come over here and kiss me."
How you doing?
Now, if you vacuum, I'm yours forever. And here's the laundry. There's the dishwasher.
Look at that. He's dusting. He's so hot. I need you.
I want
you. What attracted you to your husband?
Dusting.
I saw him dusting.
His middle name is Dyson.
The key to my heart is a vacuum.
The handheld.
All right,
one.
here we go.
Using facts to take on the woke politicians, triggered leftists, and the corporate media.
You just got to try harder not to suck.
Live across the fruited plain and from sea to shining sea, you're listening to the Wendy Bell radio program.
Fast. You guys have made this day go by so quickly. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Wendy Bell radio program. We thank our 8 station affiliates who've been so kind as to take our program. Our network is growing. We are branching out across the United States. And a very special thank you to those of you who watch us live stream this show and have downloaded the Wendy Bell Radio Network app. 1,200 downloads, I think, just over the weekend as we launched our live chat.
You mean 1,500 just yesterday?
1,500 just yesterday as we launched our live chat version. And I think the stark moment for Jason and Brock and me was seeing our Wednesday show taken down. And if you've missed that, you can see it on the Wendy Bell Radio Network app. And I have long, well, in the last several days, many times alleged that I believe that was one of the most pivotal shows I've done because I took off the gloves and I said, I'm done. I'm done dancing around and saying that this vaccine is either safe or effective. I'm done pretending that people haven't been hurt or killed. There is just too much data out there. And nobody will talk about it because everybody is afraid. There is this real bully group mentality that if you happen to be standing alone with the guts to say, you know what, I'm not believing you anymore. In fact, I'm going to start doing my own research. You become the target of the proverbial weaklings, and that is where we are. I had said earlier in the program, too, that I wish I had stock in Orville Redenbacher or some kind of theater popcorn brand, because this is where things are starting to get good. Okay, as bad as what this administration is doing to our country, as lousy as every policy, every decision, everything they've done has been thus far, only to get worse. Of course, we know this. One must keep some sanity. So if you sit back with your proverbial bowl of popcorn and you're chomping away, watching at what's going on, there is an implosion. The ripple effect is phenomenal. I personally think Kamala Harris might just be the poster child of failure for this chapter of American history. You had a woman who campaigned for 4 days. She was running for 4 days for president. Couldn't even get 1% of the primary vote. Dropping out. Somebody who arguably slept her way up the chain in California and pretty much ruled with an iron fist and cracked down on many people in the Black and brown community. Incarcerating under Bill Clinton's, crime bill. How many? Who then wants to come out on the flip side and say America is racist. Everything about us sucks. So the only way to unsuckify and not be racist is to vote for a female who's Black. Okay. But she was so offensive to so many people, even MSNBC stopped calling her Black. They said she was a woman of color because her upbringing, her trajectory didn't follow the same path as the traditional Black experience, whatever that means. I mean, now there are gradations of Blackness. I mean, how preposterous is this? So now we have in this position a woman who really does nothing. Biden waves his wand and calls her the czar of the border or in charge of the spread of 5G across the country. Have you heard anything that Kamala Harris has done to do really any good for anybody? And then the president of Guatemala with John Roberts on a Fox News sit down said the quiet part out loud. I've spoken with her once. She's not doing anything. She's not here. And the only reason she even went to the border was because Donald Trump was going to go. And then Jen Psaki released the press thing, or her verbiage that day was, Joe Biden was there several years ago. He drove by the border. Oh, it's much better now. But it's particularly popcorn worthy when people who are by and large sycophants of the left, the propaganda arm of the left, which would be, I don't know, media, Hollywood, anybody who's not an independent thinker, when you have these people actually waking up and saying the truth, they too have emerged from the slumber. One of them is Charlemagne the God. Now, Charlemagne is certainly not a god, but I do have great fun watching him. He is, I believe, really a very good interviewer. He knows how to start with softballs, greasing it, saying you're wonderful. How's it going? The easy. Tell us about how you remodeled your part of the West Wing. Whatever. You're so great. And then ultimately he's going to go in there and he's going to ask something significant. He irked other people before, Brock. What did he do? I forget what it was. But he did something. He actually had the huevos to stand up and say something. What was it?
It was when Joe Biden said, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black.
You ain't Black. There you go.
Yeah, that agitated him, and he went on.
That's it. See, Brock is my elephant. Everybody needs one. That's not offensive. Elephants have fantastic memories. You're mine. So anyway, Kamala Harris is in Charlemagne's got his own show. He's very popular. He's got to be the #1 urban podcast or whatever. He's good. I like him. He's very left, whatever, but I think he also asks some really good hard-hitting questions. So he's kind of sitting in like a Captain Kirk chair on the Enterprise, and in the big monitor in front of him is Kamala Harris somewhere on the fake White House set, whatever they're doing over there. And chirping, in the background on Kamala's side, you'll hear her soon to be vacating chief of staff, Simone, whatever the heck her name is. And so about 15 minutes into the interview, Charlemagne asks Kamala Harris a question, and apparently does not go well with Kamala's face as it drops, and with Simone, who's like, well, we got to drop that. We got to end this. We're having audio problems. So she's pretending that Kamala Harris couldn't hear the question, which was very simply, who's president anyway? Joe Biden or Joe Manchin? Then Kamala Harris snaps and loses her shizzle, loses it, and does one of these kind of yeah, and gets in his face. So if you're listening on the radio, you understand how I just set it up. If you're watching on the stream, really enjoy this. It is delicious.
Who's the real president of this country? Is it Joe Manchin or Joe Biden, Madam Vice President?
Come on, Charlamagne.
Come
on. It's Joe Biden.
I can't tell sometimes.
No. It's Joe Biden. And don't start talking like a Republican about asking whether or not he's president.
Do you think Joe Manchin is a problem?
It's Joe Biden, and I'm vice president, and my name is Kamala Harris.
The veins are bulging in her neck. No. My name is Kamala Harris. I mean, she's ticked.
And she starts pointing at
She's
him.
pointing, and he's just kind of sitting there. Now, what Brock edited out was the whole exchange, and I should have put that in, because there's this really awkward 45 seconds where the handler, Simone, from the staff of Harris, is saying, we have to cut this short after Charlamagne says, who's really president? Who's president anyway? Ladies and gentlemen, come on.
Yeah, he also asked too, who's more powerful, Joe Biden or Joe Manchin?
Well, what do you guys think the answer is? So she said, you're starting to talk like a Republican. What did I say to you at the beginning? Successful people talk about ideas. Unsuccessful people talk about people. They're threatened by anyone who doesn't have the clone trooper mentality. And so that focus, whether it's a Trump supporter, whether it's somebody who went to the Capitol on January 6th, whether it's somebody who believes in election integrity, whether it's somebody who's not drinking the COVID Kool-Aid, regardless, they will become the crosshairs focus. The president is Joe Biden, and I'm vice president, and my name is Kamala Harris. She looked like she wanted to jump out of that screen and strangle him. Here's the funny part, though.
Her pantsuit was getting kind of wrinkly.
Here's the funny part, though. She needs Charlamagne a hell of a lot more than he needs, perhaps, the most disliked, disregarded politician in decades. I don't know who polls worse, but it seems to be Joe Biden's trying to give her a run for the money.
She's polling in the 20s.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think there's
What was that
worse.
thing you sent me over the weekend? You said 50% of young people are giving him the thumbs down, and that's down 50% in like 5 months.
Yeah.
You're
He's
losing
not
it.
doing very well.
You're losing it. And the more the swirling toilet bowl continues, the more they're going to be striking back. You're sounding like a Republican. Really? Interesting. Well, the holidays are gearing up at the battlegrounds. In fact, we are going to the battlegrounds coming up here in like a week. I'm so excited. If you've ever wanted a really special place to celebrate a party, a birthday, whatever it is that you want to do, a corporate event, the Battlegrounds is it. This is the area, southwestern Pennsylvania's largest indoor airsoft and Nerf gun. Wow. They do everything inside. Nerf airsoft, bow tag, and rivals. Look, this is not paintball. This is not what hurts you. This is called fun, and they give you the guns, they give you all of the protection, the head covering, the mask, whatever, and it's all refereed, and you run around for a couple hours with your kids or your friends or your colleagues, and you have an absolute blast shooting each other. There's also a separate side of the business called Show Me Your Hobbies, and this is devoted to all remote control enthusiasts. If you like RC everything. I love RC stuff. They've developed the most incredible place to do cars, trucks, crawlers, boats, blow your mind. Call them today, 412-530-2192, or check them out online. Reserve your spot at thebattlegroundspa.com. Thebattlegroundspa.com. Don't just play the game, be the game at the Battlegrounds. All right, quick break. So Biden is going to address America tomorrow. Oh no, darkness is on the horizon. We're going to talk about that a little bit when we come back and go back to a montage we put together that I think kind of speaks volumes. Don't miss it next on the Wendy Bell radio program. Yeah, I know. Pretty sure my kids are excited to shoot me too. So we've done Bernie Omar Mansion. We've done. Oh, we never did the lab leak. I never did Collins talking about that. Did we? No, we did.
We did.
We did. We did. I think 11:30 will probably be 10:30 because the 11:30 segment I've already done. Do you see that montage, the pandemic of the unvaccinated?
No.
Really? You're so funny. Not. So Michael's making dinner tomorrow and you're not invited. Tuscan chicken. Yeah, it's really good. He saw it on TikTok.
Well, how do you know I'm not invited? He could call me and say...
He doesn't have your number.
No, we
Oh,
should.
yeah, absolutely. That'd be awesome. People can have them on like save speed dial. Is there a preset function on your phone for that?
Well, let me tell you exactly what I would post then. I'd text message everybody back your phone number.
No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't.
You're right. I'd just reach out to the trolls.
We don't have trolls.
Sadly, none came over on the app.
Really?
Well, if Michael's listening, Michael, I am free tomorrow night.
He's not listening and he's not interested, but that's okay.
Well,
I'm just saying, I know my son.
Wait, Michael's cooking. He's the son that actually listens. You couldn't have said a more true statement when you said she needs him more than he needs her. Amen to that.
Wow, right? He doesn't have to deal with her reindeer games.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not here to save your vice presidency.
Stay on target. Here we go.
So with the Build Back Better bill blowing up in their face, over the weekend, the dire predictions. I'll read it to you again. Message on the whitehouse.gov website sent out as a tweet to how many people? I don't know how many people pay attention to them. But it says, we're intent on not letting Omicron variant disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. For the vaccinated, mind you. But we're all about inclusion and bringing everybody together and healing. It was just so awful when Donald Trump was around. Things were so ugly. We're all about healing. Really. You've done the right thing, and we will get through this. For the unvaccinated, ba, ba, ba. You're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourself. Who writes that? Who writes that? Is there some sinister, give me a sinister doctor something or other. Doctor, who writes that in a movie? There's got to be some sinister Michael Myers doctor. What's his name? Dr. Oh, God, Brock, the elephant has left the barn. Okay. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm.
Dr. Evil wrote that.
There you go. All right.
And while he's petting his cat.
That's right. That, see?
Yeah, see?
All of you who paid attention, you will live. The rest of you won't. Even though the BS board today shows you in other places where we can hopefully presume the data is at least moderately believable because it's not here in the United States. 4 out of every 5 COVID-related deaths in the UK in the last month were among vaccinated individuals. So this might, ladies and gentlemen, be blowing up the narrative that everybody was so fast to glom onto. It's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Go. And go. He's looking for it. Oh, there we go. Yes, no, maybe.
This is being called a pandemic among the unvaccinated.
This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
A pandemic of the unvaccinated.
This is an epidemic that's occurring in the unvaccinated.
We're seeing a pandemic among the unvaccinated.
This is becoming a pandemic of the unvaccinated.
The Centers for Disease Control says unvaccinated Americans are driving these numbers, accounting for nearly all deaths and almost all of the hospitalizations.
Virtually every person who is in the hospital right now, sick with COVID-19, is unvaccinated.
We are seeing outbreaks of cases in parts of the country that have low vaccination coverage because unvaccinated people are at risk.
So it's going to find those pockets in each community where people aren't vaccinated, and it's going to do a lot of damage.
So here's my question to you. So Biden is supposed to come out tomorrow with some dire words regarding an uptick in COVID. And there is an uptick in COVID. New York, a city, saw 20,000 cases yesterday, the most they've had since the beginning of this. And they're highly vaccinated. So here's my sinister question. How do we believe when our government tells us that it's the unvaccinated who are dying and not the vaccinated? Because that's what it's going to come down to. There's only one objective. The objective is getting a needle in your arm. If you've had one, you need the next one. If you've had 2, you need the booster. If you've had none, you are the proverbial cash cow. You must get this. There is a winter of darkness ahead. You and the people you love. Ladies and gentlemen, when the numbers continue to go up with quote unquote COVID deaths, do we believe that it was COVID? And then do we believe it was really the unvaccinated? This is where we are. Instead, we should be talking about, I don't know, what else matters to you guys? Paying for your gas? Paying for your groceries? Managing your heating bill? Affording braces for your kids? I mean, are there a million other things you would rather this administration focus on? But remember, unsuccessful people talk about people. The longer they try to hammer home and blame the unvaccinated, the longer they will be unsuccessful. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Did you guys know the national debt per household? What? I got it for you. Jaw-dropping. Next on the Wendy Bell radio program. Hi. You guys are like mission control. You're like mission control in there.
You threw me off, like, because
Even though I told you and then you mocked me, you're like, no.
You said, do you see it? But when getting to it, because I have them lined up the same way.
Mm-hmm.
See, I get here early and I try to prepare. So with the way it's lined up here, I line it up on my radio computer as opposed to my stream computer. And when we jump around, I have two mices that go to two different computers.
Did you just say mices?
Mises.
Okay, I'm just. All right. Should you have went somewhere or gone?
Went.
Oh my God. I'm going to find something heavy to launch through the window at you. You're such a jag. I like this last segment, though, because it's interesting. All of the things that this administration is not accomplishing, Republicans are accomplishing. And I think it's outstanding. We're just doing it alone, my man.
Today went fast.
It did. Duh. I agree.
Okay.
I'm going to have to give him a weekly retainer and bribe him to pick up bagels for us sometime.
I was thinking about it today, but because of the beta test I wanted to be.
Today was a big day. You guys are helping us a ton, and we're so excited. I love when people say you should be on Rumble. You don't understand. I don't want to be on another platform. I don't want to be controlled by anybody else. I want to do what I do. I want to do what we do. I want to do what you want us to do, and it ain't Rumble. And so that's so annoying to me. People want, we're all inherently selfish. We want what we're used to,
right.
What is easy for us, and
come to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to come to you. Come to me. And for the same for the people that are saying, "Oh, I thought you were off Facebook." Listen, it's a business decision to also be on Facebook. It's only a matter of time before Facebook is going to start acting like Twitter.
To be honest with you,
I don't think we'll be here.
Our reason to do Facebook is one reason and one reason only: our advertisers.
Yes.
This isn't some great benefit for me to be here. It is that I can reach more people and share the story of what I believe are some of the best businesses around.
And you know, for Rumble, and people are saying there's no chat on Rumble, and that's part of the thing. Like, for us to use Rumble, we have to use it different than you use it. Rumble would cost us money also to use. So it's not like you just get on. If you want to live stream to the degree that we do, you have to have a plan, you know.
Well, and I think what happened too is what I noticed. I had just positively Wendy Bell. If I would do live things, the communication from people, how they interacted with one another was, I was astonished. I was like, wait a minute, this is really weird. And then when you and I started several years ago,
why we built the chat.
And you were like, all right. And I said, I think we should do something because people are very interactive with it.
And it's just not Rumble, Telegram, Getter, all of them. We're doing it for us and for you guys. We're not, I don't want to take people together. I don't want to take people to Mike Lindell's site, whatever Frank
Speech,
whatever.
And I like him. I hope it works out. And
right.
I really hope Donald Trump's does well. I think anybody who believes in freedom of speech, if they have a platform and people like it, more power to them.
And I'd ultimately, and this is a selfish thing, I'd rather invest in us. And if that's getting the servers to do it ourselves, you know, and then if we go down for some reason, I can turn to Jason and start throwing things at him. If I go down on Rumble, I have to send them hey, can you help me? Well,
and one thing about Rumble, I just had a 40-minute interview with a media company in Michigan. That 40 minutes took 4+ hours to be uploaded directly.
Oh, it's painful.
Oh, it is.
Oh, it's awful.
So for a 3-hour show, it might be on there the next day.
And for people who have emailed and reached out in the past asking us to break up the show and do all this, I appreciate that you guys want it easy and wanted to get that. There are 3 of us.
Yeah. It's not like we have a team.
Yeah. So if I edit something, it's not a just click here and it happens. There's a lot of work that goes along in post-production. But I'm about investing in us and making us the best we can
Who
be.
knows? We could very well expand. And depending on how many people sign up for the fee cost or the fee version of our app, maybe once we pay our bills, we can hire somebody to do that. Well, just when you felt like your bottom dollar, your line, your finances were feeling a little poor. Well, that's nothing compared to what we have as a country, which makes even more sense that Senator Joe Manchin would be the one individual wearing the Democrat hat who would stand up and be like, you know, I have the 7th or 8th poorest state in the country, with 1 of every 5 people in West Virginia living at the poverty line. And in 2019, West Virginia was one of 2 states that lost population behind Michigan. This is not a time to slam people with more bills. How about this? National debt per household, ladies and gentlemen, now $287,859. America's national debt has now reached a level equal to approximately $290,000 per household, according to a new report. If you divide the 28, oh my goodness, trillion, 908 billion, 4,857,445 in debt that the federal government owed before the debt limit was lifted by the 100,424,240 American households that paid net income taxes in 2018, it works out to approximately $287,859 per income tax paying household. Which brings me to this. 61% of Americans paid no federal income taxes in 2020. Please. More than 100 million U.S. And I say please, because this administration alleges that it's going to go after the billionaires. No, they're not. They're going after you and me. More than 100 million U.S. households, or 61% of all taxpayers, paid no federal income taxes last year, according to a new report. The share of Americans who pay 0 income taxes is expected to stay high at around 57% this year. It's expected to fall back down to about 42% in 2022. The top 20% of taxpayers paid 78% of federal income taxes in 2020, up from 68%, up 10% in one lousy year. The top 1% of taxpayers paid 28% of taxes in 2020, up from 25% in 2019. I've got this really wild idea. It's kind of out of the box, and I don't know if it would work, but it goes something like this. Stop spending so damn much money. Why is it okay for our government to become ever more bloated? They wanted 87,000 new bean counters. Bigger government, bigger oversight, bigger meddling in your life, more telling you what you can and can't do, more sniffing around your finances, more infringement on your ability to make your own decisions. That is what is going to sink your modern day Democrat, Marxist, socialist, communist, progressive government and party, period. I find it very intriguing, as Joe Biden will announce to the country tomorrow that it's going to be a blizzard of new cases, and because of that, you're going to die. And he's not getting anything accomplished. I find it fascinating. That stuff is happening in red states. What's this? How about this Fox News audio clip that we pulled from Bill Mnuchin, whatever the heck his name is. He's at the southern border. Huh? I didn't put it in there? I'm pretty sure I did. It should say, feds won't allow Texas panels. Well, I will then do a dizzyingly fantastic job of explaining to you exactly what it is. In Texas, Governor Abbott has decided to forge ahead with plans to fortify his border from those 1.8 million migrants who've decided to surge with the open door policy of the Biden administration into Texas, and to be then greeted with open arms and get a bunch of freebies that you and I do not get. So there are all these monstrous metal panels that are basically the infrastructure of Donald Trump's build the wall. The federal government will not sell them to the state of Texas. I want you to think about that for a minute. These panels, which are sitting idle, lying like corpses, like stiff metal corpses on the border of Mexico and Texas, rusting, costing us, what did they say? Something to the effect of $5 million a day in contracts already paid to not build the wall. Governor Greg Abbott can't get the federal government to sell those to him. So he's building his own. I find it amazing that you have a federal government that does nothing to benefit America. And you've got Republican governors in Abbott, in DeSantis, going rogue and saying, you know what? We're going to do this ourselves. In the great state of Florida, Ron DeSantis, the aforementioned, is soon to hopefully sign a bill making Florida the 22nd state to become a constitutional carry. That is what it's called, I believe. This is, instead of needing to go and get the certification and licensing to conceal carry, you can, on your person, open carry a firearm, where in 21 other states you already can. This is the same governor in Florida who has decided to beef up his own National Guard, his own Florida militia, if you will, that outraged the left. Oh my goodness gracious. What's he trying to do? Well, he's trying to do what 20 odd other states already do, including New York and California, having their own people ready, on standby, to address any number of issues, from natural disasters to infiltration of people who shouldn't be there, what have you. That's amazing. Your federal government, the Democrats, zero. Republicans, chalk up another one. How about this story? We know since the debacle in Afghanistan that the Biden administration, their minions, Mayorkas, Jen Psaki, any number of people have been talking about the debacle in Afghanistan. In fact, this is a very interesting audio soundbite I have for you here. Senator Josh Hawley from Missouri asking Mayorkas, you know what, you're bringing in all of these Afghan refugees. You've lied to us basically about how many Americans are still there. Well, what are you doing with these tens of thousands of individuals? What do we know about them? You've said that they're going to be vetted, that you're going to do a deep dive on every single one of them. Let's recall what Alejandro Mayorkas, how we stammered and yammered through this with Josh Hawley. Go.
What percentage are you conducting?
I don't have that information.
What number have been interviewed?
What we are doing.
Wait. What number of the more than 60,000 brought to the country? What number have received an in-person interview before they came to the country? Because you said 100% are screened. So what percentage have been given an actual interview by a trained official before they come to the country?
When you're speaking of a full refugee-like interview, I don't have that data. I will tell.
Why not? Are you not tracking it?
No, I don't have that data with me.
Why? I hear you. I understand what that means, but why don't you? Are you not tracking it?
No, we have data in the Department of Homeland Security. You're asking me what data I have at my fingerprints?
Well, why don't you have it? You run the Department of Homeland Security. Why do you not know who has been interviewed or not before they're brought to this country?
This is the freshman team. In fact, this is the 8th grade team playing varsity. Okay? How do you not have the ability to explain how people are being vetted to come over here? Unless, of course, they're not being vetted. Unless, of course, the purpose is to bring in how many more permanent underclass residents you can possibly bring in. Give them work visas, give them fast pass to green cards, give them stipends, $2,300. This is all stuff that's going on. $2,300 each. Get them jobs, give them free places to live, give them free education, give them free health care. And what's going on with you again? Right. Your prices are going up. You're in for a dark winter. Got it. It's amazing that a U.S. civilian humanitarian effort just within the last week rescued 39 American citizens from Afghanistan. 39 Americans who wanted to come home, whose government did not get them home. So who's actually running the show anyway? And let's not talk about money, because this will absolutely blow the lid off of their incompetence. Republicans lead on the economy. New data shows Republican-led states continue to outperform blue states in jobs and unemployment. Newly released data for November from the Labor Department confirms Republican governors and legislatures are leading the way in getting Americans back to work. More jobs are being recovered and unemployment is lower in red states. 17 of the top 20 states for jobs recovered since the coronavirus pandemic began are led by Republican governors, and 18 of the top 20 states have Republican-controlled legislatures. The top 13 states for jobs recovered are all led by Republicans. 4 Republican-led states, Idaho, Utah, Texas, and Arizona, have more jobs now than when the pandemic hit. On every single issue, time and time again, you name it, Biden and team are failing, which is why they're scrambling and pointing the finger at other people. Characteristic of unsuccessful people. Great opportunity to spend some time with Kelly and Dave Morgan from Morgain's Fitness over the weekend. Kelly is an Air Force veteran. Dave is a former police officer. This is a couple, a husband-wife team, dedicated to service, mission-focused. And they have their own fitness empire. They own 4 Morgain's Fitness facilities in Somerset and Cambria County here in southwestern Pennsylvania. These are the people I trust, who I would get behind and support when I needed to find a gym, a place that was safe, that was clean, that had everything I needed, and that was focused on me, with 24/7 hours, with a range of different membership options to suit my needs and my budget. with all the bells and whistles of a traditional gym, but with the certified personal trainers, with the metabolism testing, with the body composition analysis, with the fitness classes and the child care, and run by really good, patriotic people who love America. More Gains Fitness, MORGAINZ, fitness.com. How is it that the Republicans who are so demonized for being so backwards are the ones who are actually quietly, while Biden and company destroy America, they're the ones who are keeping us afloat? And I just gave you a couple of the numbers. Wait until you hear what else I have for you. Coming up next on Wendy Bell radio program.
JD out.
Thank you. Yeah, Michigan City elects an all-Muslim city council. What could possibly go wrong with that? I mean, like, honestly.
Well, I wouldn't want all of anything.
Hello? That's what I'm saying. How about diversity of opinion?
That's the only diversity that's not acceptable.
Facts. Facts, facts, facts. I get to go shoot a new Body by AIM 360 video today after Dr. Dubiak has hired a special media marketing firm. So I think our videos are going to be crazy good. You can come. You want to come and work?
I'm busy.
Oh, you didn't want to come and work? You were quick to throw up you weren't invited.
Well, that kind of backfired, Doug. I'm not gonna go out and it kind of backfired. Get your sizzle together. I'm normally not invited. Yeah. I normally don't get invited.
Duh. Freezing. I'm wearing winter boots in here tomorrow and a snow cap.
Maybe Jason should get you my pillow slippers.
No, I think he does enough for us.
Now, here we go.
It's not the sexiest conversation to have, but so much of what we have to do as parents or as hardworking Americans is not. Putting together an estate plan is one of those unsexy tasks, but the peace of mind you get on the flip side of the process is undeniable. And I've got an attorney I want to recommend to you. His name is John D'Onofrio, and he's a friend of mine. He's been in business for 40 years, helping people like you and me navigate these financial waters and putting down on paper what's going to happen to our money, our estate, our trust, if you will, if we pass away. What happens then? He's a wonderful guy and oftentimes can help you avoid really crippling taxes on the flip side of this. Attorney John D'Onofrio, 412-928-2068. He's a gentleman and I trust him. John D'Onofrio. So this new data showing that Republicans and common sense fiscal responsibility is actually reaping tremendous reward. Well, this is interesting because anybody who never got into a jam with their first credit card, right? Have you done this? I've done this. I told you widely about the stupid story of me as a freshman at the University of Colorado being stupid enough to think, yes, I need to have that expensive cookware set that's such a deal that I'm getting pushed on to get this credit card. What a fool. Well, you do it once and then you learn, you know what? You really don't try to buy something that you don't have the money to pay off. And I didn't. And I had to hustle to pay my dad off. So I didn't have to pay the exorbitant interest rates. I think it was like 29% at the time. So if we can all agree that you don't spend more than you bring in, one has to scratch their head and say, why did Joe Biden or anybody on the left think Build Back Better was something that was tenable? Out of the top 20 states with the lowest unemployment rates, 16 are led by Republican governors, and 17 have Republican-controlled legislatures. The 9 states with the lowest unemployment rates are all led by Republicans. The 7 states with the highest unemployment rates are all led by Democratic governors. California, Connecticut, Hawaii, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, and New York. Why do these people who fail, it's predictable, it's historic. This isn't fresh, new, this just in, vote for a Democrat and they'll sock you and then kick you. I mean, come on. The average unemployment rate for the nation's 27 states with Republican governors is 3.7%. I think we were at 3.5% before the pandemic. Democrat-led states have an average unemployment rate 1.4 percentage points higher at 5.1. And that's because of, well, California, New York, not really helping us. 81% of the states with unemployment rates lower than when the pandemic began, 81% are led by Republican governors. And 100% have Republican-controlled legislatures. I don't know what you can say to get behind backing, especially fiscally, anything that Democrats are putting out there. Despite the threat of more inflation, Biden and the Democrats want to ram through a bloated, nearly $2 trillion spending bill that includes massive tax cuts for wealthy blue state residents. Thank God Joe Manchin laid an egg on that. Look, this is not earth-shattering, I need a finance degree to figure this out. And I'm torn because I'm not sure if they just think we're that dumb or if they've been cheating their way in office this long. Because you cannot look at these states that have not had a Republican governor, cities that haven't had a Republican mayor in 80, 90, 140 years, and say, is everybody really cool with the lousy policies that continue to persist year after year? Here in Pittsburgh, we haven't had a Republican mayor in generations. And the city is sinking. Thank goodness we just elected a new lackey. But we all feel good about it because he's African American. Let's stop electing people who have no track record or whose track record sucks. Let's turn away from people like Joe Biden, who on the campaign trail said, if there's an opening on the Supreme Court, I'm going to put a person of color who's a woman on. Don't we want the best? If that happens to be a female of color, fantastic. But should that be the overarching quality? Or is it quality we're looking for? What we're doing is we are watering down the gene pool here. And we're told just lower your expectations. You're not going to have it that good again. What? That's not okay. So as I said at the beginning, you are watching history. The spotlight is on. And the crumbling as the left devours itself is shining bright. Rejoice. You're going to have a great story to tell your grandkids down the road. I guarantee it. Thank you very much for tuning into the Wendy Bell Radio program. As always, we ask you, please download the Wendy Bell Radio Network app, available in both app stores. We'll catch you tomorrow. Until then,